Hello, my name is Chris, and you're listening to Your Career Kit. In this episode, I'm joined by Luke, an audit apprentice at EY. If you're considering a career in finance, then Luke has some fascinating insights into his accountancy apprenticeship, what it is like to work at EY, and the vast array of career and social opportunities on offer. That's right, the apprenticeship route can include a great social scene, and you can get your professional accountancy qualifications faster than those who go to uni. Let's meet Luke and find out more. Hi, Luke. Welcome to our podcast.
Hiya, thanks for having me.
We'll start today with some really quick fire questions just to get to know you. So, what's the first thing you do to kickstart your day? Are you a coffee, tea, or energy drink kind of person?
Very much a cup of tea sort of guy. It has to be a cup of tea every morning to get me going.
Excellent. Do you load it with sugar, or is it just a straight
No,
up
just
tea?
just as it comes, not too much milk, quite strong, like a builder's brew almost.
Nice. Sounds good. And if you had to describe your apprenticeship journey so far using only emojis, which ones would you pick?
I think I'd go with the whirlwind emoji to start with because you get thrown in, you get your hands on a load of different things, get involved with different bits and bobs, and then it kind of settles into something a bit more relaxed. And maybe like a beach emoji where you find your groove, you get working. It's still fun, it's still interested, but it's a bit more settled.
Right, interesting. Yeah, that's not what I was expecting. Like it. And finally, if you could swap jobs with anyone at EY for a day, whose job would you want and why?
I think a bit outside of the box would be Saeed, who's our IT man, because everyone's so useless with IT. It must be so good just to help everyone out and be able to actually know when someone just needs to turn something on and off, that's all that needs to be done, or if there is a big issue that to be able to fix it. I think I'm not great with IT, so that sort of thing would just make my life so much easier.
Is he a pretty busy guy?
Yeah, he is quite busy.
Busy
Everyone's
guy.
always going to him with some sort of issue.
Okay, so never be a dull moment. Be a busy job,
No,
but a rewarding one.
yeah, exactly that.
Like it. Okay, brilliant. Well, thank you. Fine. So let's get into I guess, the main part of the podcast now, really, and let's find out a bit more about your journey to becoming an apprentice at EY. So, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what led you to choose an apprenticeship over the traditional sort of university route?
Yeah, so I always knew I wanted to go into the world of finance or accounting, and when in sixth form doing a bit more research about it, kind of saw that the ACA or the ACCA qualification to become a chartered accountant is what the key thing is in that industry. So doing a bit more research kind of showed that whether or not you have a degree or not, you still then have to go and sit those exams to become a chartered accountant. So it just meant that it was a quicker way by doing it through an apprenticeship route to get to that same end goal rather than spending 6 years, being 3 years at university, then 3 years as a graduate at one of the firms like EY. It would just be a 4 year, more direct route to becoming a chartered accountant. So it was 2 years faster. It just seemed for me clear that it was a more direct route of going into an industry and career that I knew I wanted to go into.
Brilliant. Okay, yeah, a lot of people won't realise that. Most people think that, a degree is the quickest way to get
Yeah,
into that kind of professional career. So
yeah.
that's really good to know. Actually, it's 2 years faster. And you said you always wanted to know that you wanted to be in sort of finance and accounting. That's quite interesting. What kind of led you there? Is that personal connections with family, or what were you
Well,
good at maths at school, or what kind
it
of
was it
led
was
you to
always
move on to
maths
that?
really. Maths was always my favorite subject, and I was always interested in businesses and the way they worked. And so as always, the sort of TV programs I'd always want to watch would be when The Apprentice is on or Dragon's Den or that sort of thing, where there's a businessy sort of program. So yeah, it was always maths and business is what I liked. And then for A levels took maths, further maths, economics, as well as French. But economics was the one I was really interested in. And just seeing how big macroeconomic events, like something like COVID, how that would affect loads of different businesses in different ways. And that's something that through working in this industry and in audit, I can see because each of my different clients in my portfolio, everything affects them differently. So it's kind of getting insight into those businesses, which is why I wanted to go, into this sort of audit or accountancy world.
That's really interesting. A lot of people hear the word audit and as a sixth form and don't know what it means, or
Yeah,
secondly think, well, that sounds quite dry.
yeah,
But actually, it's quite a lot of that job actually getting to know your clients, understanding their businesses, not just crunching numbers. It's actually understanding how they function.
yeah, exactly that. Because we deal with risk, and our job's to kind of help minimize the risks that the numbers that they eventually report on are incorrect. And so, in order to do that, you need to understand how the business operates on a day to day and the decisions they make and what impacts that, in order to then be able to identify where risks might come out of that. So, it's really important that we do spend time and get to know the clients and the industries in which they operate in.
Okay, that's good to know. And so actually, you enjoy spending time with people. It's not just you like getting your head buried in a
Yeah,
spreadsheet and working with numbers. Actually, those people skills are important as well.
yeah. And that's people both externally, the clients we speak to, but also internally. We do a lot of work with our team in each of our engagements. And so you get to know a lot of different people at EY as well and spend time with them.
Okay, no, that's great. That's really good to know. So I think that's going to change people's perceptions
Yeah,
of what audit is and what it means,
yeah.
and what kind of characters get into that kind of work. So, okay, brilliant. So, and how did you hear about EY's apprenticeship program? So you said that you were interested in audit, you identified that, and your research told you that that's a good route to kind of fast track route to getting qualified. So, what was it about EY that grabbed you?
Yeah, so I was kind of lucky in the fact that my dad works loosely within the industry. So when I said I and speaking to him saying I want to go into accountancy, he was able to guide me towards some of the bigger firms that are likely to offer apprenticeships. But even so, I still then just had searched on the internet accountancy apprenticeships because I knew that was what I wanted to do. And then you'll see come down on the list all of the big firms that offer them, and then can do a bit more research and see which ones I think I would get on best with once at that point. But there's so many resources out there. Um, and so as soon as you start searching and clicking around, it kind of leads you from page to page to page and reviews and pages like your own where you can find people's perspective on the apprenticeships.
Yeah, I guess what were some of your top things going through your mind when you're reviewing the different companies that offer accountancy apprenticeships? Is there any particular criteria that were important to you as you went through and reviewed
So
them all?
the first thing was that I wanted a level 7 apprenticeship that offered the ACA qualification. So within accountancy, some firms offer that direct route, or some firms offer a different route where you become an AAT, which is a level 4, and then you do the second step of the ACA. So it's a bit of a longer process. So I knew I wanted the more direct one. So that was kind of the first thing I looked for. And then it was kind of partly speaking to people. So whether it was on LinkedIn, just pinging people and saying what's life actually like there, to see would I actually enjoy it, would I not, would I get on with the sort of people that work there, but also just looking on the company's website, them talking about what they do in a broader perspective. Like when I looked at EY's website when I was looking to apply, there was a big project they were undertaking with a developing country in Africa, helping basically redo all of their infrastructure. And I was like, that's cool. Whether or not it's something I will eventually get involved in at that company, that is cool. It's cool that the company's doing these sorts of projects. So that's somewhere I would like to apply for and potentially work.
Yeah, brilliant. Oh, well, hopefully you do get onto that project. Sounds
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah,
So what was the kind of feedback you got from teachers and your family around that decision to choose an apprenticeship over, say, university?
yeah. I was lucky I had the support of my family. But school wise, so I was at a grammar school and it was very much university, university, university. That was the main route they pushed. And a lot of people wanted to go into medicine or vet, and their routes where you almost need to go to university. And so
Yeah.
that's kind of what they were used to. Whereas like apprenticeships wise, they'd maybe have one person a year in a group of 200 that would do it rather than a higher percentage. So there wasn't pushback, but there was less support and less of a guided sort of route as to how to apply, when to apply. So just less guidance. But I was lucky that I could find all that information myself. I still did my applications for university, more as a second option. If I didn't get any apprenticeships that I wanted, then I still had something that I could go and do. So I still applied. To study economics at a few different universities and got my offers, etc. But yeah, in the end, it was the apprenticeship route I chose.
Yeah, that's really interesting. That's advice I often give students as well. Is can leave both options open,
Yeah,
can't you, until the summer really? So you find out
yeah,
whether you've got on the apprenticeship schemes, and also likewise what university place you've got, and then you've got the
and then
options
take
to
your
choose
pick.
from.
Yeah,
So yeah, that sounds like a great strategy. And I guess that's quite interesting that you say that only maybe one person a year, your school would go into the
yeah,
apprenticeship route. Do you think, and there's only obviously partly that's down to the career choices, the number of apprenticeship schemes is expanding significantly. I think they've just launched one for medicine line quite
okay.
soon. But yeah, obviously if you're getting a career where there isn't one, that's you have to take a university route. But do you think there's any kind of misconceptions or assumptions, particularly in a school like yours, where most people don't do an apprenticeship around apprenticeships? Do you think it's just a lack of maybe information, or do you think people, I don't know, have some kind of preconceptions?
Yeah, I think definitely, and it's especially with my parents' generation, where at that time maybe apprenticeships were more for your kind of hands-on jobs, whether it's hairdressing, whether it's being an electrician, etc., a trade. And that's just not the case anymore. But a lot of people go to their parents for career advice, which is fair enough because their parents have gone through it all. But if the parents don't realise that these higher level or strong apprenticeships are available, then that information won't get passed on. So I think it is a big thing that needs to come from the schools almost to inform to inform the students that those opportunities are there, and then even then the students speaking to their parents openly about it, because a lot of parents will think, oh no, I would like my son or daughter or whoever to go to university. Um, Whereas it's about them then also having that understanding that it's not a lesser option, it's just an alternative.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. For me, it's I think a lot of the information parents and some teachers have is just out of date, isn't it? As you
Yeah,
say, it's this old information that they're advising people on. So no, well, hats off to you for doing your own research and being independent of your thought process. And I'm sure that's actually something that EY were, um, you
yeah,
know, we're keen on as well. That independent thought is
yeah.
really important. So no, good stuff. Okay, well let's get on to what it's like to actually be an apprentice. So maybe you could just walk us through your typical day as an audit apprentice at EY. What does your role involve, and what does it look like?
Yeah, so well, every day varies and it seems like the sort of thing that everyone says. But so on the apprenticeship, generally an apprenticeship, your time's split 80-20 between work and study, with the 20% being study or learning in some capacity. So the way our scheme is structured is we have our learning for our exams in blocks. So we'll go to college for a week or 2 weeks, study towards an exam, and then sit that exam, and then come back to work. So when we're on college, whether it's in person or virtual, it seems to vary exam to exam. You'll be spending all day in front of a tutor, basically learning the content, practice questions, asking them questions to then go and sit your exam. When you're outside of college, the more work side of life, again, does vary from day to day, but broadly speaking, it involves work on Excel, so analysis of the numbers, number crunching, but then also then speaking to the client to understand those numbers, not on a numerical level, but on what's happened for those numbers to change or for those numbers to exist. So if the revenue a company's made has fallen by 50%, it's not just recognizing that decrease and doing a calculation to calculate it. It's then figuring out, well, why has that happened? What's caused it? So that's where a lot of the time we'll have meetings with our client, whether it be on Teams online, or if not, whether it's in person if we go to their client site. And again, that varies depending on our client's needs.
Okay, so that's interesting. That's quite a lot of variation there,
Yeah.
which is great. It keeps the job interesting, I guess, and varied. And in terms of the college experience, I mean, just for those who are currently at school, thinking maybe university is not the right option for them because their learning style, is that college experience, is that fairly similar to school in terms of, or is it quite a different learning
Yeah, I'd say
system?
it's not dissimilar to school. We're in classrooms of, for me, it's been between 10 and 20 people, so not dissimilar to an A-level class. Um, and the way they'll structure it, they'll front load with content. So it'll be like the first half of the week or 2 weeks, whatever the block is, will be more them speaking to us, explaining, us asking questions to understand it. And then towards the end of it, it'll be question practice. So they'll set us up with a question, we'll work through it and then debrief it as a class. So it's more like school, I'd say, rather than university where you're not getting lectured at. It's more of a kind of a group learning experience where you're all in there in the classroom learning and working through it together.
Great, a bit more interactive than
Yeah,
university, where you say often you just spoken out and you have to do the work in your own time. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, brilliant. And what were your expectations before starting, and how was the experience being an apprentice compared to that?
Yeah, I didn't 100% know what to expect.
Sure.
Going into a working environment at 18 is different. So it is a professional environment. You are having meetings with financial directors of large companies within your first few months. So there is responsibility, but I like having that responsibility, and you get supported throughout. So your first few client meetings, you might just sit in on, and then you might start to speak in some, and then you'll be leading them and taking them on your own. So you kind of get slowly integrated, but you do get the opportunities to lead meetings and that sort of thing from very early on. So that was kind of better than I was expecting almost. I didn't know whether in the early stages it would be a bit slower and I'd be spoon fed and maybe just doing the work on the side, and then the managers will be doing more of the client interactions. But you do get that kind of client facing role straight away.
That sounds exciting, but it's a little bit intimidating as well. So, what kind of support do you get from the people around you, the people in your office?
Yeah, so every engagement that we work on has a structured team. So you'll have us as staff at a lower level, to then your seniors, your assistant managers, managers. So there's always someone above you on each job that you report to, but also they support you and coach you through your learning. But also overall, when you join the company, you get a buddy who's someone that's in the year above you. So someone who joined on the apprenticeship a year ago. So all of those teething issues, all of those silly questions, how do I connect to the printer or whatever it is, they help you kind of sort out that easy stuff. Um, and then you also have a counsellor who I refer to as my work mum. Like if I've got any issues, if there's anything that needs sorting, if I'm not getting on well with one of my engagements or any problems, you kind of go to them and they'll kind of, whether it's an informal chat that you just need to discuss or through any more formal routes that you may need to take, they're kind of your main contact for that sort of stuff.
Okay, that sounds great. Yeah, that's reassuring. I think people going into this thinking, well, it sounds interesting, but I'm not sure it's how I'm going to get on. It's nice to know there's
Yeah,
plenty of support there. I guess the
yeah,
EY's there to make sure you succeed, right? They're investing in you, so they want you to be successful.
yeah, 100%. And then there's also like a wider support network. So if you've got any issues, there's like portals where you can submit whatever, and then it will connect you with whoever the best person is to help with that scenario. So there's also the more centralized support network.
Okay, that's good to know as well. So
Yeah,
who do you think has supported you the most so far throughout your apprenticeship, and why?
I think buddy and counselor were both key in the early days, but I'd say more so is just the cohort of people I joined with. So in my intake, I think there was probably 300 apprentices across the country in my year, eight in my office. And so they're eight peers that have both left school. They've all left school the same time as me. They've all joined the same time as me. They've got the same issues as me. So I find them the most valuable people to have around me. If I've got any little questions, there's a chance that they had those little questions last week and might have already solved it. So we use each other quite a lot. And in my group, we study together as well. So we'll go to college, and if we need to revise in the evenings, we'll come back to the office, all sit in a room together, revise and go through the questions. And we use each other a lot, and it's been really helpful to just kind of help me as well as all of them to develop.
Yeah, that's really interesting as well because a lot of people might think, oh, I'm missing out on the social side by choosing an apprenticeship rather than going to university. So it sounds like you've got a great kind of social connection with those
Yeah,
people you joined with, and also around. Maybe you just explore that a bit more in terms of your experience of the community and culture at EY, and
yeah,
how that social side kind of flows through from the apprentices you join with.
yeah. I always say to people, those apprentices that you join with are like the people that you get put into halls with if you went to university. You don't know who you're going to get. And you spend a lot of time with them. All of your onboarding training will be with them. All of your college will be with them. So you spend a lot of time with them, even if it's not on a specific job or engagement, just general office life and EY life, you will spend time with them. So you will make friends with them. I made good, like close friends with four or five of the other apprentices in my group. Like We've been on holidays together twice. We go out together outside of work. So really have like made good connections and bonds with some of the people that I joined with. It's not like you're joining an office with a load of middle-aged people as an 18-year-old that you're not going to be able to go out with and have fun with. You still get that opportunity. And then there's also we have like a big social team within the office. So we'll have a budget, and every tends to be about every month we'll have a social, and the whole office is invited. Whoever wants to come can come, and we do all sorts of activities, from whether it's just going out to like a bar which has got some sort of activity, or we've done indoor skiing, bowling, all sorts of random things sometimes. Just if someone wants to do something cool, then sometimes we'll just do it through a work social, so they get to do it and everyone gets to come along, and you get to make friends with the people that you work with. So there's always something going on, and there's communities. Like we've got a football side in our office that a few months ago we did a full tournament in Birmingham. All of the offices brought their own team, and we had a big five-a-side tournament. Um, we've played the Cambridge office in cricket before, and there's always something going on. So I haven't felt like I've missed out massively on the social side that I would have had at university, because there's been so much going on.
Yeah, that's great. And you mentioned the buddy system as well. So I guess you do get to know people, who are like just a year older than you
Yeah,
effectively, and then 2 years older, because I guess as apprentices have gone through each year. So I guess actually in terms of people your age group, there's obviously the people you joined with, but then there's people who are 1 or 2, 3 years older,
yeah,
who are there as well. And the fact you can
yeah,
meet them in
exactly.
those socials as well means actually, yeah, I guess you can get to know people and connect with people with similar interests
Yeah,
as you, which sounds fantastic. And you mentioned your office. So you're based in Luton, I believe. Is that correct?
yeah, that's right.
Again, so that's one of the regional offices EY have got. It's not obviously, a lot of people talk about, London and the big, Birmingham, big financial centres, but it's nice to know there are apprentice options in more local offices such as Luton. And
Yeah,
what does that mean for you day to day? I mean, have you had to leave home to go and take that job, or have you been able to stay at home and commute
yeah.
in?
So I'm local. So when I joined, I was still at home. I've since moved out and got a place, but not out of need. Just because I wanted to and could, sort of
Yeah,
thing. But so yeah, the reason I joined Luton was because it was the most local office to me. I didn't feel the need to travel into London when Luton was almost on my doorstep. And if I went back, I would 100% join Luton again. In Luton, there's a strong sense of community where people get on, people know each other, and know what's going on, and it means that things like the football, when you go and play football after work or whatever it is, you get to genuinely make connections and get to know people on a deeper level than just a colleague. It is a good office in terms of getting to know people, and you still get great opportunities. We've still got a good client portfolio where we've got some big household brand names that we audit from our office. So it's not like we're missing out on all of the cool work stuff. We still have some cool clients. We still have some cool projects going on. So you get the best of both worlds.
yeah, that sounds brilliant. And it's interesting the fact that you kind of started off living at home and then you've moved out, which again is similar to that uni experience really, where people often
Yeah,
go into halls and they spend a year, or then they move into a house with their mates and stuff. So that's nice that you've had that opportunity to do it, or you've chosen to do that
yeah,
as well. You see, you kind of you're not missing out on that ability to transition from living with parents into moving out to your own 2 feet.
yeah.
Obviously, the salary there allows you to do that as well, which is good to know. So yeah, that's great to hear. Um, and in terms of, I guess, moving forwards, looking forwards, what kind of skills do you think you're developing? Obviously, you finished school with A levels, move into the workplace, very different skills required. Obviously, part of an
Yes,
apprenticeship
yeah.
is learning those. So you've got that balance of doing the work and also learning through college. And then what sort of skills do you think you have developed so far at EY, both professionally and personally?
Yeah, I think the biggest personal development point is just an ability to speak to adults. It seems like such an easy thing, but as an 18-year-old, when you first join, having a speaking style to speak to adults is different to how you'd obviously speak to your friends at school. So it's learning how to get sometimes difficult questions across in a professional manner that isn't going to come across as too abrupt. So just kind of tweaking the way you speak and the way you address a scenario is generally quite a big thing you learn quite early on, just from hearing how other people approach different scenarios, as well as just going through those scenarios yourself. also professionally wise, so much knowledge I've picked up about the way businesses operate and about accounting and the technical side of things. So there's so many things you learn. But yeah, I'd say the biggest kind of personal development point is just that ability to talk, and like I've had opportunities to present in front of people, which in school I would never be the first to put my hand up to lead an assembly sort of thing. But now I actually have learned that I quite enjoy the public speaking side of things. So if there's an opportunity to present to a client or present to people in the wider community, I'm always definitely keen now. So something that I didn't necessarily know I would develop into, but hopefully that's somewhere that I'll look to explore in the future as well.
It's something I often say when I go and talk to students at schools in terms of there's key skills that employers are looking out for is
Yeah,
communication. And I always get that's like, yeah, come on, I can communicate and talk to people. It's so different, isn't it? That ability to communicate in different environments, different
yeah,
types of people, using different language. It's such an important skill. And the fact you develop that is fantastic. So I think
yeah,
that's one of the things that often distinguishes really good managers from those who don't reach those manager positions is communication. It's an
yeah,
absolutely critical skill, and a lot of people underestimate it. So
mm,
it's interesting that that's what you've
yeah,
found, but also it's nice that you enjoy that. Something that you said maybe you didn't automatically embrace when you're younger, but you now kind of step into that
yeah,
zone.
yeah,
Yeah, that's brilliant. And in terms of that, you talked about the college block kind of learning time. It sounds like you're learning every day, which is
yeah.
great. Um, are there any kind of I guess pulls between that time, and is it hard to balance the kind of the structured learning versus your day job, or is it quite well segregated?
It's quite well segregated. There's still, so for the first six exams you take, you kind of go to college for a week, learn all your content, and then there'll be a week where you're back at work before you sit your exam. So that's where you've got a little bit of juggle, but generally what's encouraged is that you speak to your managers, let them know that you've got an exam coming up, and then they'll make sure that when you finish at 5, you close your laptop, and then you can go and study if you think you need to study and do some more revision. Um, so it is quite well managed in terms of if you do need to study, they'll make sure that things are in place so that you can study as effectively as possible outside of the work. For the next six exams, the way they're structured is you go to college for a week per exam, learn the content, then you have about 5 or 6 weeks where you can kind of consolidate that learning, make sure you understand everything, and then you go back to college and learn more the question technique and how to apply that knowledge to answer the questions and gain all of the marks. And so you'll have a week or 2 weeks of kind of exam prep before the exam. So you kind of do get that 2 3 week period to fully concentrate on the exams, and you can just leave work alone, leave that to the side so you can fully concentrate on that exam to make sure you pass.
So that's very nice. They really support you. Obviously, the emphasis on helping you. So
Yeah.
get through those exams. That's great. Okay, so I guess for people who kind of listen to what you said so far and think that sounds quite interesting, is there any advice that you give to someone who's considering an apprenticeship, also an apprenticeship at EY?
Yeah, I'd say go for it. Don't, a lot of people I speak to hear that the apprenticeships are competitive and they're hard to get into, and a lot of people apply and they might not get it. I always say if you don't apply, you're definitely not going to get it. So first step is put an application in. There's nothing stopping you, and spend a bit of time on that application. Make sure it's robust. If you've got an interview, prepare for the interview so you know the sort of ideas of things you want to say or where you want to take the conversation. But I'd say first step is obviously apply, or you won't get anywhere. And then the biggest thing for a successful application is to kind of know in yourself, why do you want to do it? The biggest question they're going to ask you is, why do you want to do an apprenticeship, or why do you want to join EY, or why do you want to do audit? And if you don't have an answer yourself, you're going to come across as not knowing why you want to do it. They're going to think they don't really want to do it, and they're not going to hire you. So spend some time figuring out what is it that you actually want to do and why do you want to do it, and then you can better answer that question. And yeah, I think there's no golden ticket. There's no magic phrase or thing you can do to say to kind of get the spot. Um, but just try and portray yourself in the way that you think they would want to see a successful applicant. You can kind of figure that out generally depending on what you're applying for. So
Yeah, often companies are quite explicit, aren't they, in their job description in terms of what they're
Yeah,
looking for. It's just a case of reading that, and making sure you're prepared.
yeah,
The other thing
and
is that often we find is that there are less applicants per apprenticeship place than there are for each graduate role.
yeah,
So
100%. That was
apprenticeships are competitive, but they're not as competitive as grad roles often.
Yeah, that was one of the other reasons I ended up applying through the apprenticeship because I had my university offers and I thought to myself, if I go and get a degree in economics in 3 years' time, I will be applying for this exact same role just as a graduate role, which is more competitive and harder to get because there's so many people that are then wanting to go into it. Because especially with accountancy and audit, if you join straight from school, you tend to get the people that are interested in accountancy. If you can get there earlier, why wouldn't you, sort of thing?
Yeah, sounds like good advice. And there's one thing you wish you knew before starting your apprenticeship. What would that be?
Um, just to take every opportunity as it comes, like whether it's at school or in the apprenticeships, there's so many doors that will open. And I'll just say, just take all the opportunities you can. I've got to go to the Netherlands with one of my engagements just because I kind of said, yeah, I don't mind, I'll do it. So opportunities will come if you say yes. So just say yes to trying things. If you don't like it, you don't have to do it next time, but there's no harm in just giving it a go.
Best way to learn, isn't it?
Yeah,
And looking ahead, where do you see yourself in the next few years?
it's a big question. Yeah, so hopefully, touch wood, I'll be finished with all of my exams next summer, and then I'll just kind of see where life at EY takes me. My plan is to do a secondment to to the US or to Australia. Probably America is seeming more likely at the moment. One of my main engagements, we've got another team that work on the same client in the US, so I'm thinking about maybe doing like a transfer secondment for a year or 2 years to that team and to learn how it looks over there, and then hopefully bring some of that knowledge back. So that's kind of the routes I'm exploring at the minute, for the kind of midterm future, and then yeah, we'll see where life takes me after that. But EY, I'm lucky in the fact that EY have got offices in I think 152 countries. So there's opportunities for me to travel within EY or to do secondments into other service lines. And that's something that I definitely want to try and make the most of.
Yeah, that sounds really exciting.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. And finally, if you could describe your EY apprenticeship journey in one word, what would it be and why?
Oh, I would say I'd say exciting, just in the fact that there's there's so many different things I've got to do. There's so many people I've met, so many people I've spoken to, and things I've done that I never expected. And interesting things, interesting opportunities that I just wasn't aware that I would have had going into the world of accountancy, which stereotypically is supposed to be boring, and especially not being in a big city hub. The opportunities that have come even without being in London, sort of thing.
Exciting and accountancy. That's great to hear.
Yeah,
Brilliant. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for your time and all the best for your career and potential travels.
thank you.
We hope you enjoyed listening and picked up some invaluable tips or advice. If you did enjoy, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future episodes. If you're looking for student jobs, be it part-time jobs, gap year roles, apprenticeships, internships, placements, or graduate roles, head to e4s.co.uk. See you next time.